Hello and happy Constitution Day. That's right. This is being published on September 17th, 2018, which is Constitution Day. So I'm hoping you, one, remembered that this holiday exists, and two, are actually celebrating it. I am glad you could join me here at the Constitution Study. My name is Paul Engel. We are here to return that said Constitution to its rightful owners, we the people. I have an interesting episode for you today. Talking about some things actually from the Declaration, which you really kind of need to study if you're going to understand the Constitution. But first, if you are a new listener, if this is your first episode, thank you very much. I hope you'll thank whoever pointed you this way. Let them know that you found it interesting, that you'll come back. It is this need to understand the Constitution that drives this study. It drives this movement. This is what we're here for, to learn, to study, so that we can defend our rights and teach them to the new generation. If you want to learn more about why this is so important, listen to last week's episode 17 on the First Amendment survey. Maybe that will get your dander up. But if I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you could come. I'm glad you could join us. If you're returning, thank you. Welcome. Come back. I'm glad you're here. Again, it takes time. It takes effort, the willingness to spend time to learn, to study, if we are going to remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. So I'm glad you could come back. I hope everyone will head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. You can learn more about the study. You can see other podcast episodes, other blog posts that I've made. Hey, you can even ask a question. I push this every week. Go over there and ask a question. If there's something on your mind, ask it. I've got a couple of episodes related to questions. I love them. They help me know where you are at. They help me know maybe what things I need to work on more. Most of all, it creates an interaction, which I really, really, really enjoy. So head on over again, constitutionstudy.com. You can also find me on Facebook. We're on facebook.com/constitutionstudy. If you want to share information through there. I also have a YouTube channel. Right now, that channel is just these podcasts with a banner on the screen. I'd like to do more. I'd like to be able to post more podcast episodes. I'd like to be able to post more blog entries. I'd like to release more essays. I'm working on essays. In fact, my plan is today to release my latest essay on the Declaration of Independence. That's right, Constitution Study, but you really got to go back to the Declaration to understand it. And you can get that absolutely free by going to constitutionstudy.com. Find the mailing list. It's on the right-hand side. You'll see to subscribe for the mailing list. If you do so, starting today, you will get a free copy of my essay on the Declaration of Independence. It was cool. I learned a lot. I really enjoyed it, and I think you'll enjoy it too. So please do that. Sign up for the mailing list. I don't put a lot out on the mailing list. Mostly it's kind of updates on what's going on and what plans I have for the future. I'm trying to get some more speaking engagements. I live in Middle Tennessee, and I've been talking to a few people about speaking to their groups. I like that idea. I like getting up and speaking in front of people. So if you are in the Middle Tennessee area or anywhere near that and would like to discuss that possibility, reach out. You can find me on the website, constitutionstudy.com. You can also find, I have a site on Patreon, patreon.com. You'll find the Constitution Study. I'm trying to come up with the funding to do more with the entire Constitution Study. As I said, I'm working on the book. Book's going pretty well, a little slower than I would like, but that's because I can only spend a certain amount of time on it. I'm doing the podcast. I'd like to do them more. I'd like to do more blogs. I'd like to get more engaged with people. I'd like to have get-togethers. I'd like to have meetups. I'd like to have events where we could read and study the Constitution and learn more about this together as a group. So if you feel so compelled, if you think this is worthwhile, please head over to patreon.com and consider supporting the work that we're doing here. So today, I want to talk to you about an item from the Declaration of Independence. You know, the Declaration of Independence includes a line that starts out, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." See, there are certain things in 18th century America that were just so blatantly obvious. They didn't need to be taught. They didn't need to be written down. They were just kind of absorbed through society. And the Declaration lists some of these truths. But it seems unfortunate today that things that were so self-evident then are just plain missing today. I mean, even these words were written by our founding fathers knew that all men may be created equal, but they certainly weren't treated that way. And though we're created with this right to life, today it seems that we treat life cheaply. Liberty is routinely ignored in favor of getting what we want, and we think we have a right to be happy rather than a right to pursue it. So what are some of these self-evident truths that our founders thought were so obvious, so self-evident? They didn't need to be written down. They were just there. Well, according to the Declaration, they include that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So history shows that rarely are men and women treated equal. But our founding fathers said it was so obvious they were created that way. See, those who wrote and signed the Declaration of Independence recognized people were not treated equally. Slavery was an obvious inequity in the treatment of men, and the entire British political system was based on the differences between the classes. But it's lost in modern discussion. Many of the reasons why we declared independence was many of the states passed laws abolishing slavery or restricting slavery, and the king would just veto them. See, this unequal treatment is, if you look at the list of, I believe, 27 grievances, a lot of it has to do with not being treated equal. British soldiers were given preferential treatment in court, and colonists were denied proper representations. Landowners often took advantage of those who farmed their land, and employers routinely expected more from their employees than they were willing to give in return. The point of the Declaration was not that people are treated equal, but that it was obvious that they were born that way. They were created that way. And it was this idea that they wanted to create a land where the unalienable right to life, liberty, and property to be treated equally would flourish and bloom. Yes, slavery was a fact of life in the American colonies. But again, read the debates over the Constitution. You'll see that they wanted to put a structure in place to eliminate slavery. Not only that, but to create a land where all were treated equally under the law. Now, does that mean everyone has or lives an equal life? No. The circumstances of your birth, the decisions you make, or the work you pursue all impact the outcomes of your life. But America was created where everyone has an equal chance to pursue his or her own version of happiness as long as it doesn't infringe on the unalienable rights of others. I remember as a kid, we were told anybody could grow up to be president. And that was the highest office. That was the highest thing people would go for, could attain. You know, in the 19th century, millions of people came to this country just looking for a chance to live an equal right, to live an equal life, to have the opportunity to work hard, make a living, and give your children a better life than you had. So if all men are created equal, what are these unalienable rights? Well, first of all, what is an unalienable right? It is a right you have just for being alive. People may infringe on them, but these rights cannot be taken away. And if you head to the website, you'll see I did a blog post, I did a podcast episode on this. It's actually episode 3 on what is an inalienable right. So you can follow up more on that. But these rights are given to you by your Creator, not by government. Therefore, they can't be taken away by government. Now, among these unalienable rights, 3 are listed. It's among these. It isn't an inclusive list. So the first right is you have a right to your life. Nobody can justifiably take it away from you. You can forfeit it, but it cannot be taken away without legal process. See, whether you're an unborn baby or a senior citizen, you own your life, and it cannot be legitimately taken away from you. Did you notice I said, though, you can forfeit your life, and this gets lost a lot. See, if you threaten the life or health of an innocent person, you put your own life in jeopardy. See, when you infringe on their right to life, or you threaten to infringe on their right to life, you actually forfeit your own. See, whether you're killed during the commission of a crime or found guilty of an illegal activity, taking life of another, you have forfeited your right to life by your own actions. We get into a big discussion. In fact, there's a chapter, I think it's in the Declaration, where I talk about capital punishment and other questions of life. So you can read more about that. But the idea is, it's one thing for me to take your life. It's another thing for you to forfeit your life by threatening mine or my family's. See, in the case of government putting someone to death, I believe due process requires an extremely high level of proof. I believe capital punishment should be limited to those that involve the death of the victim, where the evidence is not only beyond a reasonable doubt, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt. But that doesn't change the fact that it's the consequence of if your life is taken either during the commission of a crime or in penalty for a heinous crime, it's the consequence of your own action. So you have a right to life. Our founders believed in a right to life. They also believed you can forfeit your life by some of your actions. Next one they list is liberty, which, again, it's one of those words we use a lot. I wonder if we really understand what it means. See, we think of liberty as a freedom, a singular freedom, the idea that you can do whatever it is you want. Yeah, but there's so much more. So if you go back to the Webster's 1828 dictionary and read, you look up liberty, you'll find it says, freedom from restraint in general sense and applicable to the body or to the will or mind. The body is at liberty when not confined, and the will or mind is at liberty when not checked or controlled. A man enjoys liberty when no physical force operates to restrain his actions or volitions. Liberty in general is freedom from restraint. Now ask yourself, do we live in a land where we are free from restraint? See, our founding fathers created a land where restraint was focused on the central government, what we now call the federal government, not the people. It was the government that was restrained. But look at life today. What do you see? We see the government acts without restraint, usually by placing illegal restraints on its citizens. It's backwards. If you go back to the dictionary, you'll read, natural liberty consists in the power of acting as one thinks fit, without any restraint or control except from the laws of nature. It is a state of exemption from the control of others and from positive laws and the institutions of social life. This liberty is abridged by the establishment of government. See, natural liberty is the freedom from control except from the laws of nature. What are the laws of nature? They are those standards of society that are so obvious, again, self-evident, they don't need to be written down. Murder is wrong. Stealing is wrong. Lying is wrong. Natural liberty is that freedom from everything except those self-evident natural laws. It is also a freedom from control of positive laws. Now, what is this term positive law? That's something you may not have heard before. Positive laws are those made by government as opposed to natural laws. So based on this definition, natural liberty is the freedom that it is so obvious that it doesn't need to be written down. In other words, natural liberty is self-evident. The last and probably one of the often misused and misquoted is the pursuit of happiness. What is happiness? Well, back to that 1828 dictionary, happiness is the agreeable sensation which springs from the enjoyment of good, that state of being in which his desires are gratified by the enjoyment of pleasure without pain. See, interestingly enough, the phrase originally was life, liberty, and property. This is what John Locke wrote. However, Jefferson, he changed it up. He changed it to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which I think it makes a very important distinction. See, if you have a right to property, shouldn't it be required by society that you have some? We talk about the right to health care, and everybody should pay so that you can have some. We talk about the right to an education, so we all pay so that there's a school, regardless of how bad it is. You see, what Locke described was the function of government. The quote is from what Locke's describing, was to protect the right of life, liberty, and property, not to provide it for you. What Jefferson wrote in the Declaration makes two very important distinctions. First, it's the right to pursue. You do not have the right to be happy. Let me repeat that. You do not have a right to be happy. You have the right to pursue it. See, contrary to what most Americans think, or at least many Americans think, nobody owes you a job. They don't owe you a living wage. You're not owed a car, a cell phone, or anything else. America was created with the self-evident truth that you have the right to pursue whatever makes you happy, as long as you don't infringe on the rights of others. When the government prevents you or hinders you from pursuing your happiness, they are violating your natural liberty. The second point Jefferson makes is what it is you're pursuing. See, if owning things makes you happy, that's fine. Go for it. But if having a little piece of earth all to yourself makes you happy, well, that's fine as well. Does working for someone else make you happy? Or is it owning your own business that makes you happy? What about spending time with your family? Or going on vacations? Or learning something? See, the point is you have the right to pursue whatever makes you happy as long as you don't infringe on the life of others, the rights of others. But notice, you're able to pursue what makes you happy, not what makes someone else happy. This is what we've lost in America. Listen to the news. Look at what's going on. How often do you hear people complaining because they are offended? In other words, they're not happy. I'm seeing monuments taken down because it offended somebody, one person. I'm seeing people's right to free speech infringed because it makes somebody unhappy. I see people's right to control their own creations or to use their own land because it makes someone unhappy. The point is you have the right to pursue your own happiness, not to get your happiness by taking away someone else's. If something will make you happy, pursue it. Do it with gusto. Do it with everything you've got. But when the government tells you that you must work to provide for the happiness of others, they are infringing on your rights and violating their own main purpose. The point I believe Jefferson made is that you have a right to pursue whatever makes you happy, as long as you don't infringe on the rights of others. In many ways, it was the restrictions on pursuing what made them happy is the reason the colonists led to the Declaration of Independence. Look at the 27 grievances. It was infringing on many of them were infringing on the pursuit of happiness of the colonists. You see, our founders thought that the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were so obvious, so self-evident, they shouldn't even need to be written down. It was a violation of these rights that led them first to petition for relief from their government in Great Britain. Failing that, to declare independence. Sadly, our governments today, and especially the federal government, seem bent on violating all of these self-evident rights. Rather than protecting life, laws are passed to find more and more creative ways to justify the illegitimate taking of life. Others seem to obsess with telling people how they should live, infringing on your natural liberty with positive laws that dictate what jobs we can have, what we can and cannot buy, and how we can exercise what few rights our government still recognizes. Our pursuit of happiness is now dictated by government, whether that is what we can do with our property or the way we wish to live our lives. None of these federal laws are constitutional, yet few of us seem to care. It's a sad state that these rights, which were so evident to our founding generation, are so foreign to us today. And that is why I started the Constitution study. It's why we gather here to read, to study, to listen, to learn, that we may know what our rights are, that we may preserve and protect them, that we learn how we do that. So I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it useful. Go out, Learn about your rights. Pursue your right to life. Pursue your own happiness. Don't try to control the happiness of others. Learn about your freedoms, exercise them, protect them, and join me again the next time on the Constitution Study.